The 2022 Netflix series brought Jeffrey Dahmer back into the public spotlight, turning him into a household name once again. But what if the forensic evidence that led to his conviction doesn't hold up under scrutiny? This isn't just about a true crime story. It's an investigative deep dive into something truly unsettling. The chemical impossibilities in the evidence, glaring contradictions in the timeline, and expert testimony that was never properly challenged in court. Could these overlooked details change how we understand one of history's most infamous cases? Everyone knows the Jeffrey Dahmer story. Or do they? With true crime exploding across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, millions consume crime content daily. But what happens when viral stories are built on outright scientific impossibilities? The numbers are staggering. Over 700 million hours of Netflix's Dahmer watched worldwide within 3 weeks. Over 1 billion hours viewed within 60 days. And as of June 2025, the Jeffrey Dahmer hashtag has garnered over 11 billion views on TikTok alone. Yet there have been zero mainstream challenges to these impossible forensic claims. As true crime creators race to feed an insatiable audience, the consequences extend far beyond viral videos. They shape public perception of justice, influence real investigations, and perpetuate harmful myths. But beneath the dramatization lies a deeper, unsettling question. How did claims that violate basic science become accepted as courtroom truth? The Jeffrey Dahmer case contains forensic claims that violate basic chemistry and biology. From fingerprints on skeletal remains to chemical processes that could have killed him, the evidence reads more like Hollywood fiction than courtroom fact. Yet none of it was challenged at trial. Let's start with perhaps the most absurd claim: fingerprint identification from skeletal remains. According to the forensic team's 1994 article, Destructive Hostility, the Jeffrey Dahmer case, they successfully identified multiple victims using fingerprints from decomposed body parts, some allegedly stored since February 1991. Here's the science. Research shows that even with modern technology, usable fingerprints can only be obtained from corpses dead for a maximum of 4 days in warm weather, 50 days in winter conditions. Milwaukee in July? We're talking summer heat. The soft tissue necessary for fingerprint identification would have decomposed completely. This is basic forensic science, folks. Then we have the impossible chemistry claims made in the confession. The confession describes dissolving bones in hydrochloric acid using plastic containers over 3 days. But here's what's wrong with this picture. Hydrochloric acid causes severe chemical burns with minimal exposure. No protective equipment was found in the apartment. The acid would have destroyed the plastic containers. The apartment's plumbing would have been corroded. Living with frequent acid exposure would cause severe health issues. And here's the kicker. Crime scene photos show multiple boxes of hydrochloric acid, all unopened. If you're using it regularly to dispose of bodies, why are all your supplies still sealed? The confession claims Dahmer preserved body parts in formaldehyde to look at them and masturbate for gratification. That he even revealed he reached out to a taxidermist for tips on preservation. But professional embalmers need specialized training in chemical mixing, precise injection techniques, and proper ventilation systems. Formaldehyde preservation is a skilled profession. The idea that someone could casually preserve body parts in their apartment without expertise, equipment, or proper ventilation is simply scientifically absurd. Perhaps the most laughable claim involves boiling body parts in an 80-gallon aluminum pot using Soilax cleaning solution. This is from the confession and FBI records, and even confirmed by court testimony from the salesperson who sold it to him. The logistics are impossible. An 80-gallon pot is larger than the famous 57-gallon Blue Barrel. It wouldn't fit on any residential stove. When filled, it would weigh around 700 pounds, a significant challenge to even move, let alone fill and empty. And the chemical problem? Soilax is alkaline-based. It would rapidly corrode aluminium, destroying the pot before serving its alleged purpose. Boiling bones in this mix would also accelerate decomposition, not preserve them. In our previous investigation, we uncovered how the forensic team claimed to identify 11 victims in just 3 days, using a team of only 3 people. This would be record-breaking efficiency, even by today's standards with modern technology. For perspective, modern forensic identification typically takes weeks or even months, especially with decomposed remains. The idea that this was accomplished in 1991 with the technology available then is questionable at best. Here's where things get really interesting. That infamous 57-gallon blue barrel? It wasn't purchased until July 12, 1991, just 10 days before the arrest. But the confession claims it was used to store bodies from victims allegedly killed before the purchase. Kyle Wally, who sold the barrel to Jeff, testified in court with a receipt proving the purchase date. Even more damning, neighbor Vernell Bass, who visited the apartment, wrote in his book Across the Hall and said in several interviews that when he saw the barrel, he shook it and it was completely empty. So how were bodies stored in a barrel that didn't exist yet and was empty when witnessed? Here's the elephant in the room. Jeffrey's father, Lionel Dahmer, was a professional chemist. He would have immediately recognized the absurdity of these chemical claims. Why didn't he challenge testimony that violated basic chemistry principles his own son would have learned growing up? This question has never been adequately addressed. Why? The most disturbing aspect isn't the impossible claims. It's that no expert testimony was called to debunk them. No chemists testified about acid reactions. No embalmers explained formaldehyde preservation requirements. No forensic timeline experts challenged the decomposition claims. No industrial specialists addressed the Soilax aluminium bones contradiction. This suggests a deliberate avoidance of scientific scrutiny. Look, I'm not here to declare anyone innocent or guilty, but when over 1 billion hours of content is consumed based on scientifically impossible claims, we have a problem. Using today's scientific standards, multiple key pieces of evidence in this case simply couldn't exist as described. That's not opinion, that's science. The Jeffrey Dahmer case isn't just about one investigation. It's about how our digital age processes criminal justice through entertainment algorithms rather than scientific analysis. Netflix's series, TikTok creators, YouTube documentaries, they're all perpetuating claims that should have been challenged decades ago. Have you noticed other true crime cases where forensic claims seem too dramatic to be true? The comment section is open for discussion. Remember, question everything, especially when the story is too shocking to doubt.